Hi and welcome everybody. Welcome back to the Health Bar. I really appreciate everyone sticking around and watching this whole series. It's been an absolute pleasure making it, and it's been really good fun. And the people I've actually come and met and come across is just been brilliant. It's been so good, and for people to actually be brave and open up, it's even better. So I appreciate everyone who's watched and come on the show and listened and the whole lot. So yeah, thank you so much. If you haven't seen this before, this is the Health Bar. We talk about mental health within gaming, and we always start the show off with my own mental health for the week. My own mental health for the week's been really positive. Actually, it's been a really kind of good week. It's been pretty busy, pretty full on. The missus has been working loads. We've kind of haven't got any classes for the little one at the moment because obviously it's school holidays, so some of the classes are stopped. So but it's been a very kind of positive week, I suppose, which has been really nice. So the next thing I kind of like to talk about and like find out information, I suppose, is information on gaming news with mental health kind of mixed in at the same time. This is a really interesting one, and I found this on social media at some point a week or so ago, and I really kind of wanted to come back to it and kind of speak about it, and be lovely to kind of hear your thoughts on it as well. But there's a big thing in the gaming news at the moment, and this is on Gaming Bible, which is I think the same as Lab Bible and all that kind of thing. It's just a gaming kind of version of it. And they are talking about and they're debating whether teabagging in game is classed as a sexual assault. And I think it's really interesting because, like, if you don't know what teabagging is, trying to explain it, is when you kill someone, you kind of sit over them and bounce up and down in the nicest possible way. And that's kind of what is known as teabagging in gaming. And it's a really kind of interesting debate, I think. Because people are saying that they've been really kind of upset and hurt about it, and they, but then again, it's in game, so it's really hard to kind of, if you can't differentiate between game and obviously real life, then I think obviously something's happening there with yourself. But people are saying they're suffering from mental health with it. People are saying they're obviously getting, they're raging, so their mental health is not being good because of it. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a really interesting kind of article. I will take the article in. It's me personally, I don't think it is. But again, it'd be wicked to hear your thoughts and comments. So yeah, make sure obviously you message down below in all the descriptions and comments whenever this goes out, and yeah, it'd be interesting to go through them maybe in a couple of weeks' time. Cool. So that is the information there, or about gaming news, I suppose, and mental health. Today we have got Controller on. Now, I actually knew Controller when he was under Humazin, and I believe it was on Mixer. I believe we know each other from Mixer, I'm sure. But I'll let him kind of, he might know a little bit more, remember a little bit more, I suppose. But let's get him in. So as always, Humazin, or Controller, sorry, now is welcome. How are we?
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Honestly, I really appreciate you coming on, and I know you've been watching a few of the reruns when we do them on a Sunday, and obviously always commenting, and so yeah, it's really nice that you kind of wanted to come on and speak to us about kind of yourself and what your thoughts and feelings obviously within the mental health within gaming. So that's really awesome. So so yeah, you yourself, who are you, I suppose? Let's start with that.
I'm an old man. So I'm in my mid-40s right now. I have 3 boys.
Yeah.
I'm a dad and father first, because I want to be a role model, right?
Yeah, of course.
So when I say dad, anybody can be a dad, but not everybody's a father, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And so to me, that's who I am,
Yeah.
first and foremost. And I've been gaming since I was probably 12 years old. So for over 33 years, I've started with the Atari, the little stick
Nice. Yeah.
figures, playing soccer, and went to, the Super Mario Brothers, into the Sega Genesis, into the Xboxes and Nintendo Switches. So I've gamed my whole life. And I don't know, I've always been a gamer, and I knew people used to stream gaming.
Yeah.
I just never thought, I always say I wish I got into it when it came out,
Of course. Yeah.
because I would have been one of the early ones, because I've been
Yeah.
gaming my whole life. But
Definitely.
you know, uh, as technology developed, I think we all became a part of it somehow.
Yes.
Because on mobile phones and PCs, and whether it be consoles, you're involved in some way somehow.
Yeah. I agree massively. Yeah, I agree, and yeah, it's one of them weird ones. I always thought that, and I look at kind of stars, especially here in the UK. Like there's a I suppose there was a YouTube star and called Ali A, and plays Fortnite, or used to play for. I don't even know what he does anymore, but and he started YouTube when YouTube was just started, and he was on his mobile phone recording his screen of him playing, and and it is that thing, isn't it? It's that thing of, we were all gaming, but yeah, to kind of get to that kind of stage where they were, it's one of them things we always wonder if what would have been if we would have done it earlier, and
Yes, yes.
because yeah, it's but then I find it fun. I think streaming's been really good fun. Obviously meeting people like yourself. Was it Mixer we were both
Yeah,
on?
we met
It
on
was,
Mixer
wasn't it?
for sure.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And yeah, so
There's a
I mean,
small group of people on Mixer that I'm still in touch with.
yep.
You're probably one of those people.
Yep.
And there's a handful, maybe like five or six, that I still keep in touch with. And
Yep.
those are the only ones that I actually still play with,
Yep.
to be honest with you, because that was my introduction to streaming. I started
Yep.
streaming like a couple of years ago. Uh, the only reason I started playing and streaming was because of Tarkov. And that's, I think, our connection there is
Yep.
like one
Definitely.
game sometimes gets you into a community that uh, gets you involved with other people. And it was amazing. I've moved on to different games. Obviously, as a gamer for life, you can't
Of
just sit
course.
and play one game. You play many games,
Hmm.
and you get many addictions.
Yes.
But like, to me, gaming is one of those things, because my kids see me do it, and
Yeah.
they're big gamers. I just bought my son. Actually, it's right there. His gaming PC. That was
Amazing.
his graduation gift into going to high school. Uh,
Amazing.
yeah, so that to me is like, you know what? But you still have to kind of, not too much time on the
Of
computer and
course.
electronics. I want them outside. So there's a balance, there's a fine balance. But I know with gaming what it did for me
Yeah.
growing up.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, my story is very, like everybody's unique. But to me personally, my parents divorced when I was 12, and
Right.
I come
Okay.
from a Middle Eastern background, so we
Okay.
were like very strict.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
Like,
course. Yeah.
my dad beat us,
Yeah.
with a belt,
Yeah.
like if we did anything. So to me, coming from, and to me that was normal. I
Yeah.
thought every parent did that,
Oh.
until I grew up and later found out that no, you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, for me, I take the opposite approach with my kids. I talk to them. I want them to be my friends.
Yep.
And I guess it started there. Not that my dad was bad. It's just that's how our culture was.
Yeah. Of course. That
And
makes
obviously he's
sense.
older now and he's regretted it, and we've talked about it, and that obviously took a lot out of him, and it
Yeah.
made me realize like he was just trying to protect me and put me in a straighter path.
Of course.
But when he and my mom divorced, I was 12.
Yeah.
And what it affected me in a major way, because I had an older brother who was 50.
Right.
And
Okay.
like one day we're together every day with best friends, and then my mom left to Greece,
Oh
to another
wow.
continent. We're in Canada. Like, I was separated from my whole family, kind of. So to me, the only thing that I took out of it was, okay, I'm taking this with me. It was my at the time, my gaming console.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course.
And that's how I kind of like, and whether it would be arcades, because I went and met people there in the new country
Yeah,
playing games in an arcade. It was games that got me through a lot of that emotional
yeah,
aspect of me being really scarred, and I didn't have anybody to talk to.
yeah,
You don't talk, my mom was living her life. She was younger. She divorced my dad for a reason. She
yeah,
wanted to get remarried and meet new people. So I kind of just lived on my own life when I
yeah,
was 12 years old. And since then, I've been on my own, really.
yeah,
Even though I lived with them here and there, but they were never really a part of my life.
yeah,
And I think gaming was a huge part of who I became. Uh, I never talked to my parents because, again, my mom was too busy. I saw her like as like a very independent woman. I don't
yeah,
want to bother her. And my dad was like very
yeah.
harsh, like you shouldn't have to like, I was bullied like massively and beat up in high school and university
Right.
almost like
Okay.
the first couple of years in high school.
Yeah,
I never told anybody that. So I would just go home, kind of like just shrug it off,
yeah,
cry on my own, and just play video games and
yeah,
forget about it. That was like my thing to forget about my
yeah.
life.
It's
You
weird,
know,
isn't it? I
yeah.
always think, especially kind of age as well, because I hit 40 this year, and I think as our kind of age group and our parents' generation, we were always told to rub dirt in it, like just get up, it'll go away, it's fine, man up, and it was always that type of thing. And I'm not ever having a go at anyone from that era and saying, "Oh, you should have looked out for us better," because obviously their parents, obviously our grandparents, were exactly the same, probably worse. Um, and I think a lot of people, and it's nice, a lot of people that I obviously have spoken to, have found this little kind of sanctuary of gaming to kind of help them through these real rough, hard times of just kind of just getting through it. And then obviously now we know different, and we are starting to talk about it now, which is amazing. And us talking about it then obviously helps our children and this generation and the next generation and so on and so forth, which is great. But yeah, I think it's really interesting. A lot of people very similar to yourself with obviously the gaming to kind of help them get through these hard times.
It was just normal for me. It wasn't
Mm.
like back then. I didn't think it got me through it. It was just
Yeah, of
the
course.
thing that
Yeah,
got it off my mind,
yeah,
right? I
definitely.
don't think about that my family split up or that I'm being bullied at school and beat up at school without
Yeah,
telling. I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't. I thought it was going to be like bringing problems to my family, like my
yeah,
mom at the time or my dad, because I moved back and forth.
yeah,
That was another thing. Like I thought that was normal. Like you just got thrown back and forth every couple of years. You go live with someone. Where
yeah.
I look at normal divorce is like you share custody. You see them very often.
Very
It's not
often.
like
Yeah,
2 years you don't see your brother and dad, and then 2 years you don't see your mom, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So to me, where I grew up and how I grew up, I just thought that was normal
Yeah.
until I got older and I realized. And it's funny because everything I learned or saw, I shouldn't learned. Everything I saw happen is a learned behavior. You learn it.
Yeah.
So you learn, you think those are right things, and then when I first became a dad, uh, I was I wanted to be the best dad. I'm not gonna do what my parents did.
Yeah.
But then slowly it comes out. You start yelling and you start not the abusive part, but the like that part that you can see yourself, oh my God, I'm gonna become like my dad if I
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
right? And I stopped myself, very early on when my first son started, those terrible twos and threes, and
Yeah.
I'm like, why am I yelling at my 3-year-old? He doesn't
Yeah.
understand. And then I realized, okay, I gotta teach him. I gotta actually show him.
Yeah.
And it totally changed my life, even like and me and him bonded really over video games. Because I would sit and he would sit beside me. I'd play my Xbox.
Yeah.
He would sit and watch, and then I'd give it to him and let him,
Amazing.
die a few times, like, and
Yeah.
he'd get mad. I'm like, don't worry, just learn it or learn it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that was bonding for us.
That's
So
nice.
yeah, it was amazing. He's 13 now. He's about to be 14 going into high school, so time flies.
Amazing.
But
Yeah.
when I saw your show and then I heard it and I sat down and watched it the first couple of times, it
Yeah.
just brought back all those memories
Yeah.
of that happened to me personally,
Mm-hmm. Of
and I'm sure have happened to many of us in different aspects of
course.
life.
Yeah. definitely. No, I definitely. That's yeah. I think that's really interesting what you said about kind of the way you are changing yourself for your kids, because I see myself doing that all the time. With my little one, and it is that thing. He's literally he's only like 15 months old, and he doesn't know what he's doing when he's banging the door, and you kind of have to then, instead of like going, oh my god, stop, you sit there, and you still won't understand. Don't get me wrong at his age, but you still have to kind of get it in, as like sit there and explain it, and all that type of stuff. And it's so interesting, and it is really weird. Like, I never thought I'd be kind of that way, and
Mhm.
yeah, I kind of want the best for him, obviously. So
Of
it's
course.
it's really interesting, and I think I'm going to be very similar, like with bonding and things like that, over kind of gaming, and because he's going to look back at this, I hope, he's going to look back at this,
Mhm.
and kind of see what we did, and what games
Definitely.
we were playing at the time, and and I find that fascinating, um, but yeah, so
Well,
go on, sorry.
well, you were saying about the VR thing, sorry, the teabagging thing and the sexual
Yes.
assault.
Hmm.
Well, to me, I know you said no, but look at it as if you're in VR and that happened to you. Some
Yes.
people really, if they're into the gaming and they entrench themselves, some people could take it that way and could develop a mental status
Yeah,
of where
that's
they
true.
think they're being abused and actually lead, you know, unfortunately, with this day and age and with social media,
Yeah.
a like and somebody like not liking something you post
Yeah, yeah,
leads
of
to
course.
suicidal thoughts, leads to many issues that become very
Yep.
big problems.
Yep,
So I,
massively.
I get what you're saying, that when you're playing a video game, like when we grew up, that was just funny,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, with the the way gaming is heading towards, like the VR aspect where you
That's very
actually
true.
interact in the game,
Yeah.
you might someone will take it as they're being assaulted. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I
That's
can see how that question can
yeah.
come up. Is it right or wrong? I think you can be right and wrong. I
Yeah, of
think your
course.
answer is right,
Yeah.
and I think if somebody thought no, it is,
Yeah.
then they're right also,
Yeah. Oh,
because
definitely.
uh, I think once we get to a point where there's gonna be laws around gaming, I think there's
There
gonna
there
be.
has to be. There has to
Yes.
be. Yeah.
Just like online, if you make a threat online now, you're
Yeah.
going to jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna go do this at this place and be
Yes.
okay anymore," right?
Yeah.
You're gonna get hunted down within 2 minutes and you're done.
Yeah.
And I think within gaming, it's gonna slowly, and I think we will see it in our lifetime, but
Yeah.
our kids will actually they'll implement the law,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
right? I
Definitely.
think, and
Yep.
we don't know, we might see it in our lifetime too, but I think it's developing so fast that these virtual games are coming out where you're being paid to play.
Yeah.
Those incentives are there. So it's not just, oh, I'm gonna have fun. Oh, I can make a living now.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
make money. So there's a lot of laws that have to be implemented and rules, I think, that have to be implemented
Yep.
before they can actually open up the doors and say, okay, who wants a career?
Yeah. Yeah. Of
We
course.
just put on a headset and go do something for 8 hours and get paid for it.
Yeah. It's actually really interesting you said that, because I actually didn't think about the VR kind of aspect, and this is why I kind of love these like these chats and debates, and I love it, because people think totally different, and yeah, I think you are right actually. In my head now, if I was in that and in VR, then yes, I think you would definitely kind of, there are people out there that are going to take that very kind of personal and very
Takes one,
serious,
right?
and
Takes one person.
exactly,
That's all.
and actually found something, just going off very slightly here, with VR and jobs, as you were saying a minute ago. They are starting, I can't remember where it is. It was on the news the other day, but there is someone now, as a company, and they're actually using, like, it's not VR, but it's a headset, but you are controlling a car from your house, but a real car, a taxi.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's amazing for people that either, you know, anxiety, depression, whatever, and they can't get out, or they don't want to get out, or, but they still are fantastic drivers, or, there are people out there that have got these amazing skills, but mental health and disabilities, they hold people back. They really do. And And I found that really interesting. I mean, it's a bit kind of scary, a bit kind of what happens if the link between the brake or the accelerator at some point, fails or what, there's all of that kind of as always because it's all very new. But it's fascinating. I think that's brilliant. I think it's amazing the way things are going like that. I think it's really, really clever, really good.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
massively. So, obviously we kind of touched on it a little bit, with mental health and things like that. So, from obviously yourself, mental health wise, obviously, have you suffered? What type of things have you suffered? If you have suffered, and kind of, I suppose, a story about your background, and if you're still suffering now or not.
Yeah, I think I definitely suffered, but I kept it in. I never talked about it.
Yeah.
I think it was throughout my whole life, whether it be the mental health of that part of when you're a kid and you don't want to ruin what you already think your life has already collapsed because your parents divorced, right?
Okay.
So you
Yep.
don't want to put more pressure on them. So that
Of
mental
course.
stress that you keep in your head, and then being bullied at school. Oh, should I walk down this alley? And it was just the walk to
Yeah.
school was very mentally,
Draining. Yeah.
draining. Like I would be scared
Yeah.
physically and mentally more that, once I got to school, I was relieved. And then
Yeah.
I would have to go through that again going back home,
Yeah. Of
especially in a
course.
big city like Toronto and in Canada, like a 20-minute walk.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, like as a 12, 13, 14-year-old kid, you're trying to figure out, okay, which back backyards and
You can.
people can
Yeah.
I walk through so I don't go through this area where I know there's going to be like guys waiting on the
Yeah.
street to like bug you or kind of trip you or like steal something from you.
Yeah.
And then I think when you get older, when I got older in my 20s, when I like went to university, it was always there.
Yeah.
That because it affects you, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
learned
Oh
behavior.
my god.
It
hundred
becomes
percent.
who you are,
Yep.
and you don't really realize it until certain things happen. So the insecurities of why my parents, not to get into detail, someone cheated and
Okay. Yep.
blah 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 happened.
Mm-hmm.
So then you get a girlfriend, no reason whatsoever. You think it's gonna happen or it's happening
Yeah.
because that
That's what
mental
you
health
know.
issue of
Yeah.
that's what you've learned that somebody does that to somebody you love and the trust is not there and then you can't have your own relationships,
Yeah.
right? So you sabotage your own relationships.
Yeah.
And that happened to me throughout my whole 20s and 30s, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then you take up drinking as an abusive kind of like I didn't think of it that way, but now that I look back,
Yeah.
I almost died. I drank 44 shots in 5 minutes. I was in a coma for 15 days. And that
Wow.
was because I'm trying to block shit away. So I
Yeah.
drink, right?
Yeah.
I don't drink now. Luckily,
Wow.
I met someone who kind of told me, "Hey, your past is your past. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We're gonna like, start fresh from here." And the most important part about the 20s and 30s and what I kind of suppressed mentally, emotionally, and that mental health that I went through,
Yeah.
uh, I think talking about it with my now wife of 16 years in the
Yeah.
beginning when we first met, and I truly I'm like, for me to actually make this work, I knew I had to open up and I had to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we cried together. We opened up.
Yeah.
She didn't think negatively or down of me
Yeah.
because she felt bad that I had
Had to
hid
keep
this
it in.
all
Yeah.
the way till I was 30 years old. I was
Yeah.
30 years old when I was comfortable in talking about it because I finally found someone that was willing to listen truly
Yes.
to what I had to say.
Yeah. And listen
And
to you for who you are. Yeah.
yes, and the things that I went through and I've only said this to my wife and my mom.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Lebanon.
Okay.
We had maids.
Yeah.
I was sexually abused when I was probably 6, 7 years old for a couple of
Oh,
years by the maid.
jeez.
And I didn't know till in my mid 20s, it all came back
What
to me
actually
that those
happened?
games we used to play under the sheets,
Yeah.
what she was doing to me. And when I told, like, we went to therapy, my wife and I told my wife about it. We went to therapy about it. Therapist said, "Do you find yourself?" Because my wife said, he's always thinking about it. He always wants it, and she connected those two things together. That I'm
Man.
very sexual, and I've always been that type of person
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
was abused when I was young.
Yeah,
So I had to realize and come to the like fact that I did go through that.
yeah.
It was a fact, and I shouldn't hide who I am
N-
today. Yeah, I am
no.
today who I am today, and
Yes.
you know, but I shouldn't be ashamed of it.
No, definitely not.
You know what I mean?
100%. And I think
And
you've hit the nail on the head there. I think with people being ashamed, and I remember
Mhm.
when I first, you know, with my kind of whole breakdown in a really strange way, I felt ashamed that this was happening to me, because why is it happening? This shouldn't be happening to me, and blah blah
Yeah,
blah, and I should be able to just carry on with life. It shouldn't affect me, and and it's really weird. You get this kind of, and I think that's with a lot of things, as you kind of mentioned there, with obviously, with sexual assault and kind of depression and anxiety, and any kind of mental health illness, anything like that. People do go through that, and I think they do go through that stage of being ashamed, and you know
100%,
you really
100%.
don't need to, because there are so many people that have gone through it, and it's not your fault.
It is, it isn't, but at the same time, you have to remember different cultures are
Yeah,
act different
oh, of
ways, right?
course,
Now that
yes.
I came to Canada when I was 10,
Yeah,
right? So I kind of grew up most of my life here. Yeah, I traveled and lived in the US, I've lived in Greece, I've lived in Dubai. I've
yeah,
I've been fortunate to
yeah.
experience other cultures.
Nice, yeah.
But my background growing up was a very strict, straightforward, okay, Lebanese and Middle Eastern backgrounds. I don't know if you've seen people or know about these backgrounds, but very strict,
Right, okay.
very harsh, very straightforward.
Yeah.
Like you do this or you're not friggin' successful. If you're not a
Right,
doctor
okay.
or an engineer, you're a failure, right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
me getting a business degree, that wasn't good enough, I felt.
Right, okay.
And I did on my own. Remember, like my
Yeah.
parents divorced when I was 12. I moved to Greece when I was 12 to 15. I came back and
Yeah.
15 to 17 lived with my dad for a couple of years. But then I went to university and I've been on my own since I
Yeah.
was 18 years old. So when I graduated, it wasn't like that feeling where I went crazy for my son who graduated primary school, grade eight,
Yeah. Yeah.
going to high school. I got him a friggin' PC. I took him out for dinner.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
made a big deal where when I graduated university, nothing was there.
It
Nobody
was
was
just
there.
just you.
Nobody
Yeah.
was like, hey, congrats. Nobody took me out. It was just me, and I did it for myself.
Yeah.
I still felt like a failure though, because it was embedded in my head
Yeah.
that if I didn't do this, and unfortunately, people still go through that,
Yes.
and I think they think they're a failure or they're not good enough, and
Yeah.
that's why you see the suicide rates are so high or
Yep.
the divorce rates are so high because people don't communicate with somebody else. I think we all go through so much, and luckily for us, we can talk about it
Yep.
to other people. We can open
Definitely.
up.
Hmm. Of
We are more experienced where we will talk
course.
to our kids about
Yes.
certain things that happen. I've already talked to my son about, the birds and the bees. I've talked to him about bullying
Yep.
because I want him to understand that no matter what happens, there's certain things that he should never hold back
Yeah.
and he should always express himself to be true to him
Yeah.
and to be true to what he's feeling
Yeah.
because there's no shame in how you feel.
No, definitely not. Definitely, and that's is really interesting. My mum and dad were and are they were so open, like through my childhood, and I remember having my school friends used to come round the house, and they'd come and have like dinner and all that kind of stuff around my house, because my mum and dad were very open about everything, and they'd talk about everything, where some of the other kind of parents, they wouldn't. And so it was always quite interesting for them to come around, and my mum and dad would just talk about everything as normal as they would, and these, and it's one of my old friends, and actually don't see him anymore. We don't live anywhere near each other, which is a shame, but he is Jehovah Witness. And obviously they are very strict on kind of, you know, what goes on in their life and etc., and what they celebrate and what they don't. And for him to come round and kind of, you know, he used to absolutely love it because he was being open to a whole different world that he never even knew about, because he was just, again, it sounds very similar to maybe your kind of, you know, background. It was kind of not leading down one way, but that's all they ever know. And then all of a sudden I kind of opened up, and you know, and my mum and dad were amazing with things like that, with the birds and the bees, with alcohol, with kind of everything, bullying, and you know, we never really kept anything from my parents really. And as soon as I kind of, as I say, I had, you know, my breakdown, it was, you know, it's kind of, it was hard telling them, but
Mhm.
I was never not going to, you know, and they were very understanding about it. I think they still kind of didn't, again, understand, or they probably, as all parents, they probably judged themselves a little bit, you know, as
Of course,
always. And
of course.
you know, but it was obviously, it was nothing to do with, you know, in the nicest possible way, it was nothing to do with my parents. It was just what happened,
Mhm.
you know, in life and things like that. So um and it's interesting you say about your other half, because I truly believe, like, my other half is phenomenal. She's amazing,
Important. That's important.
um and it really is. And I do feel for people that obviously don't have another significant or anything like that, or feel a little bit alone. But yeah, like I couldn't have done anything that, you know, through my mental health kind of, you know, stages without her. She really is phenomenal, and I was very similar, like chatting to everything. I talked to her about everything. And it's interesting you say about kind of your past relationships, how you know, I got cheated on loads as a I suppose in my teens and 20s and all that kind of stuff. And then I started going to that whole stage of, you know, I'd go out with a girl and I'd be like, well, she's obviously texting someone else. And you
Yeah,
know, I was
yeah.
very similar to you, and I'd, you know, so then I kind of lost the romance side of it again. My missus will always moan at me for that.
Mhm.
And it's still a thing that I kind of still have to kind of, because I'm just like, I believe her
Takes time.
now,
Takes a
but
lot of time.
it does. And that is quite, is interesting, because as you say, you know, you learn that, and then it's embedded in you, and then you have to then kind of work at it to it not be there anymore, you know.
Well, it's harder to change as you get older, right?
Oh my
Because
god, yeah.
the years of like you just being okay with how things were, just you get used to it.
Yeah.
So to change is a stress actually on yourself because, well, what if this person isn't okay with it, right? Or
Yeah.
what if this, so like for me, opening up to her and her opening up to me was a very, I actually used to write stuff down in my 20s and 30s. I had a
Yeah.
book where I wrote my emotions.
Yeah.
That was my talk to someone. It was
Yeah.
just writing them down.
Yeah.
They were very dark. They were very suicidal now that I read them again.
Yep.
Like I was definitely 100% suicidal.
Right.
My brother told me, and I don't remember this. My brother's 3 years older,
Oh wow.
and I was living in the same city as him at the time, uh, kind of living from friend to friend. They say like the couch homeless person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sofa
Uh,
surfing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I did that for like a couple of years, and he told me I wrote a letter saying I'm gonna go kill myself, and I don't remember that. I don't remember writing that, but he had it and he kept it, and that's why he took me in for a year and a half with his wife, and I didn't know that till after.
Oh wow.
So in my head, I was suicidal. I wrote about it.
Yeah.
They read it. I didn't even know I wrote about it till later, all in life, when we were like, just sitting
Yep.
barbecue time and we're talking about the good old days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're kind of like just talking about stuff and things like this. And he brought it up. He goes, you were suicidal and I took you in. I'm like, and then I recalled
Yeah.
what I wrote. So it's like we
Wow.
almost oppress our own feelings
Yeah,
sometimes,
definitely.
and it's scary. It's scary because
Hmm.
we have people around us. Imagine the people who don't have anybody.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they become a statistic, I think.
Well, I think you're right, and you know, it is really hard because, yeah, I truly think, and I always say this, like, I've never been suicidal, but I do understand how people get to that stage. And and the hardest thing is that whole kind of thing of people kind of get to that, and you mentioned it earlier, of maybe people don't feel that, there's that feeling, isn't it, of, well, if I'm not here, these people will be better off, or these things, and that's the way people think and the way they kind of,
I'm less trouble for them. They
yes,
don't have
is
to worry more.
exactly,
Is he like eating? Is like, because to me, when I thought of it, it's because I didn't want my mom or dad thinking, oh, I didn't want to ask them for help,
yeah,
right? Because
hmm,
of how I grew up and what they did to me. So to me, like, I was proud. I was too proud. I didn't want their help.
yeah,
And then at the same time, I was still wanting not to disappoint them. So I'm like, okay, by
yeah, of
me
course,
living, and being on couches and not knowing where my next meal is going to come,
yeah,
and them worrying, like, maybe it's better off I'm not here so they don't worry once and for all. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's how
yeah,
my
of
thought
course,
process was.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course. And then obviously this is the thing where, I think it's, and again, this is a really interesting kind of fault, is that the fact that, excuse me, is that we don't know anyone really until someone
Oh,
opens up. I've known people, and even gaming people, even
yeah, you
like one
learned a
of
lot
the,
about me today.
well, exactly, learn a lot about you. Like, even going back to one of the first kind of podcasts we did with Human Shields, I speak to him kind of nearly every day, and to find out kind of information that he was the same as yourself, was very suicidal, and even went out and kind of went to actually do it and then didn't, and then didn't tell anyone that for 5 years.
Oh,
I was like, and this is the thing. Like, you really don't know what people are going through. You really don't, and this is why, again, this is why I really want to do the podcast, and wanted to do the podcast, and wanted to talk about it. And here, obviously, along the bottom of the screen, we do have UK numbers. There's loads, obviously, around the world, of all help numbers from the Samaritans, here in, obviously, UK, Samaritans, Mind, and Karma, the ones I've got here. But, and obviously, in America and obviously Canada, Canada-wise, I'm sure you've got the Samaritans as well. And, so there is always people you can talk to, always. And I do mention this a lot on the podcast, that you can pick up that phone 20 times and not speak to someone,
yeah,
just to kind of just get used to kind of doing it, and then you'll do it. And and yes, you can feel worse afterwards, but you will feel better in the long run. Personally, I truly believe talking about it helps. I really do.
100%,
Yeah,
100%, 100%. I think when you're at that stage where you're 100% comfortable and you're not forced,
yeah,
and like, now I talk about it because I wish I did way back in the day, but even if I did back then, I didn't have anyone, right?
yes, yeah, yeah,
I only had someone when I met my wife, and I knew truly she's not going to judge me or leave me, or, I
yeah,
knew she's 100% gonna love me no matter what I told her,
yeah,
and she's gonna
definitely,
listen, and she's gonna hold me before or after.
yeah,
So, like, and that's why now when I look at it, and I said this at the earlier of the broadcast, I want to be a dad and a father.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I want to be that role model.
yeah,
I want my kids to never think they can never come talk to me, no
yes,
matter what it is. You
yeah,
want to do drugs? Come do them with me. I'll do them with you.
yeah,
You want to smoke a cigarette? Let's go smoke three in a row so you see how bad it is
yeah,
until you don't do it.
yeah,
No,
exactly,
I'm never gonna force you not to do something. I'm never gonna yell at you.
yeah,
That's one thing I promised myself, that, and my kids, I just look at them now. I have a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 13-year-old, all boys. So when I just look and I say, hey, they know.
yeah,
I don't have to yell. I
yeah,
don't have to make them feel inferior because
yeah,
I'm a bigger person and I'm yelling, right?
of
Because that is
course,
what it is.
yeah,
That's
definitely,
it. So I just want them, you know, like, when my kids tell me you're the best dad ever and you're the funnest dad ever, I
that's
take
cool,
that as, you know what? I know I'm headed. There's a lot of work and there's a
of
big long
course,
road.
yeah,
It's never gonna be perfect, but as long as that door is open,
yeah,
where they say, "Hey, Dad, you know what? I have a problem. Can I talk to you about this problem?"
yeah,
That's,
definitely,
and I'm gonna tell them to do that.
yeah,
You have to let them know. Nobody's a mind reader.
oh,
Not in
100%, no,
relationships, not in friendships, not
mm-hmm.
in a parental role. We're not mind readers. And I told my older son, I'm like, "Hey, I'm not a mind reader. You might be sad. But if you don't tell me or your mom that you're sad, if you don't want to talk to her or you don't want to talk to me and you want to talk to one of us,
Yeah.
you have to tell us why you're angry or sad or upset or something's bothering you.
Yeah.
Because the more you hold it in, the more it affects you mentally up here, the more you think about it, the more
Yeah.
you stress, and then your body goes through changes because of it.
Yep.
I was open with him like that, and I'm going to continue to be open with him, especially going into the high school years.
Oh
Those
my
four
God. Yeah.
years are
Yeah.
like the most important years of your life. They were the worst years of my life,
Yep.
and I definitely want them to be the best years of his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of
So
course.
to me, yes, there's work, yes, there's gaming, and we bond through the gaming, and
Yep.
and that's how I use gaming for the whole subject to go back to where this started for you. I use gaming to open up those conversations with him. So
Yeah.
when we were gaming, I'm like, hey, look at my Steam account. Which games do you want? You want my password? Like blah blah blah. And he's sitting and playing his game. I'm like, uh, then I bring up conversations with him
Yeah.
while he's gaming because
Yeah.
he's like free, comfortable, he's
Exactly.
relaxed,
Yep.
and he talks about them, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I use gaming and mental health from my past to to ensure that my kids have the best knowledge, ability, openness, trust, and communication streams possible for me to be able to know what they're going through.
I love that. That's yeah. I mean, that's yeah. I truly and I aspire to be that with my little one for sure because it's as you say, it's that communication and that openness and all of that and and I always find it really funny and my family still kind of don't understand the whole streaming,
Mhm.
kind of thing. They just think I sit there and game and my
Yeah.
even my other half, she even though we kind of explained it to her, she never really got it. And then I always remember when it was lockdown and we were kind of gaming pretty hard. I think we'd either just lost Mixer or something like that. So we were gaming.
Mhm.
I was definitely streaming 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Kind of solid 4 or 5 hours, 5 days a week. I was really going for it, and my missus like she obviously overheard us just chatting, and it was
Yeah.
probably with you or what I mean back in them days, it was probably
Yeah.
obviously with you. And she was like, when I got off, she was like, I never knew you talked about everything, and I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well,
Mhm.
you didn't really talk about the game much. You were talking about kind of the news and life and
Mhm.
families, and I was like, yeah, of course, that's what we do. And it's really interesting because I do think a lot of people think that when you talk about gaming, when you talk about online gaming and streaming, people think that, if they're not in that gaming or they don't game, they just think that we go on and game and just shoot
Yeah.
people but it's not. It's the friendships, it's the
Yeah.
conversations, it's it's the skills, the vocabulary skills of
Yeah.
kind of opening up and especially with COVID and lockdowns and all
Yes.
that type of stuff, like that went out the window for a lot of people. They
Yeah.
couldn't communicate with anyone, and I think gaming and Discord and all that type of stuff has been amazing
Yeah.
for people to keep in touch and
Definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
and
Well, look at
open
this.
up. Yeah,
Well, look at this situation here. I don't personally know you. I know you
yeah,
through gaming,
exactly.
and you're the third person I've ever
Yeah,
told some things to,
yeah,
right? Because I feel comfortable at my stage in my life, and
yes,
it's important to discuss this for the people listening.
yes,
Because if we can help, and this show can help even one person throughout his
exactly,
whole life, and how
exactly.
long you do this,
Yeah,
it's worth it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So that's why the relationships we've built with people we've never met in person,
yeah,
that we know a little bit. I know that where you live. I know what
yeah,
happened to your mother-in-law. I know you have a kid. I know you've gone through issues recently,
yeah,
and really that's all I know, right? And I
hmm,
know you love gaming.
yeah,
And for us to build a bigger relationship and friendship because of this connection that we have because
yeah,
of mental health
yeah,
and things we've gone through is a big deal because it
massive.
helps us get through and
Yes,
feel like, hey, you know what? He's older than me. I'm in the same spot.
yeah,
I'm a dad. He's a dad. He's doing things that I want to do. We can talk
exactly.
about them off stream.
Yeah,
Hey, what else do you do with your kids? You know what I mean? Like it
exactly.
becomes more of a bonding, and that mental health becomes healthy mental health,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And that's exactly it, isn't it? And it is. It's them conversations and them kind of, just just speaking about it, and it really is like, and the people that I have met along the whole journey of gaming has just been amazing. Yes, there's always going to be toxic people. Yes, there's always, but again, I feel that I am in a certain place, certain mental health place, a certain my age where now I can pick and choose, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's the good. I don't have to like surround myself with anyone toxic, and you know, I know
exactly.
obviously people still do, and when they're kind of obviously younger, because they feel they have to, and that. But you know, I'm at a stage in my life where I'm like, no, I'm all right, thanks,
You
and
know what? I'll be honest with you. It's
yeah,
kind of why I stopped streaming.
yeah,
I felt I was a little too aggressive and toxic.
right,
So
okay,
I stopped because I just wanted to have fun. It
yeah,
wasn't fun anymore.
yeah.
You know, I used to play 14, 15
Oh my
hours
god, yeah, used to
and
smash it.
I
Yeah,
just I just stopped because I wasn't having fun.
yeah,
It became a stress.
yeah,
And that's not what gaming to me growing up, it was a relief.
hmm,
So I took a step back and now I just play for the fun of it. I
yeah,
play so like yeah, I've wasted loads of money obviously on Steam, but I don't care. You know what? I'll spend $40 to play a game for 2 hours just because I want to have fun.
yeah. Have a
Not because
blast.
it's popular, not because I'm gonna go
Yeah,
stream it, not because you know what?
yeah,
Yeah, Tarkov is there. I'll have fun because it's the original thing that got me into streaming.
yes.
Because like gaming is different, but streaming is totally
Oh
different.
my god, yeah,
I'll still play Tarkov, but I'll never go back to that. Even from 2 years ago,
yeah.
I looked at some videos and I'm like, why am I yelling at people playing with me? You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
was toxic, and so
Yeah.
I stopped. I stopped because that's not who I am and who I want to be,
Yep.
and that's not why I play games,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly. And that's a good thing because, again, in yourself, you realize that,
yes,
and that's you know that's another thing, and that's obviously an amazing kind of place that you are in at the moment. You know, because there are people again that don't do that and will carry on, and you know I think that's the nice. And again, I always go back to I think it's very much our age. You know,
hmm
we can kind of talk to ourselves and you know, we don't always have to have two people tell us. We understand ourselves now. I think we know
yeah,
ourselves a lot better than we obviously used to.
definitely.
Um, but yeah, I truly believe yeah believe that, and that's awesome that you kind of obviously you know felt that in yourself and was like you know I want to change.
Yeah,
But
we're and here's the thing, and we talk about this with my wife all the time. We bring it up just to remind us when we get into like situations where so no matter what, we change as people.
mhm,
Daily things happen to us and events
yep,
and external things that we cannot control and internal things that we can,
yep,
whether it be financial, health, food, inflation, whatever it may be, or
yep,
external being news, pandemic, shots to travel, whatever it may be.
yep,
We change as people daily.
mhm,
And if you don't communicate that with the person the closest to you, so for me, my wife and my kids, if I don't communicate the change I'm going through and the change they're going through, again, I'm not a mind reader. I'm just going to assume you're still that person from 2 years ago that I
yeah,
discovered.
yeah,
And then that's where more issues can happen.
yeah,
So that's why to me communication is very big and you're always finding more about yourself. So that's why when I went back and looked at certain things, I'm like, these two people stopped playing with me. Why?
yeah,
Well, it's because I yelled at them because they didn't give me my task done or they didn't help me with this, right? Like it became so like, oh my God, like did I really at 40 whatever years old become that person that I didn't want to become?
yeah,
But it's like it's because you think it's just normal, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because
of
you
course,
just become into that zone.
mhm,
And if you don't talk to yourself about it and communicate that, then I reached out to those people. I told them, hey, I apologize. We're really good, actually close now. We talk all the time
yeah,
about uh not just games, but
yeah,
things that caused that, right, in
yeah,
our life.
mhm,
Kind of like what we're doing here.
yeah, definitely,
And I think that's important is to keep the line of communication because no matter what, we're always evolving. No matter what age you're at,
yeah,
you're always going to change as a human
yeah,
for the good, for the bad, for different things that you enjoy or don't enjoy anymore.
yeah,
Just because I used to like horror like 20 years ago doesn't mean I like it now.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if
yeah,
you knew me 20 years ago, you might think I still like horror, right?
yeah, of course,
kind of an example, but on a
Yeah,
bigger scale.
yeah, and it is. I think you are right, and this is a thing, isn't it? Communication, and it is that whole thing. And you know, I speak to my other half about this quite a lot. She does bottle things up sometimes, and it's always that thing. I think it is for she bottles it up, and then all of a sudden it comes out as a big explosion, which is fine because it needs to come out, and it never goes too far. But then again, there are people out there that
Some
bottle it up
people
for
yeah,
yes, exactly
it
for
comes out in a totally wrong way or a
exactly
bad way.
yeah, a long time, and that's kind of really what happened to me. Like literally, I was taking everything on, then literally one little episode of someone cutting me up in a car, and that was it. My literally panic attack and breakdown. It all happened in literally the the quickest succession possible, and that was it. So it is communication is. And it doesn't. And I always say this: it doesn't have to be someone communicating to me or to controller or to if it's a friend, a family member, like the doctors, like a therapist, a phone number of like a help center or anyone, just to start you kind of on your journey of opening up and talking. It then always becomes easier and easier and easier and easier and easier. It does. It really does. And things then you don't bottle things up as much because if you feel it yourself, like I know now that as soon as something's coming along, like even if it's a panic attack or I know my depression's going to start kicking in again, like a little bit more, and I speak to my other half and literally I'm like I'm in a low mood, I'm in a really low mood and I don't know why, and give me like a day and then we'll talk about it and then I'll understand kind of either what happened or she can then discuss it. And it is communication. That's the biggest thing for me. Biggest thing.
Sure.
Controller, this has been awesome.
Yes, it has.
It has
Appreciate
been
your time.
no, honestly, for you to kind of come on and open up, and I always say this, like it is so brave for people to come on and open up and talk about it because it is still such a. It shouldn't be. It is still a slightly taboo subject, and especially male mental health and. And as I always say, anyone coming on and talking and opening up, and you mentioned it earlier, if this whole series of what we've done here gets to one person, then amazing.
You've done more than amazing, yes.
And that's
hopefully it helps
it.
a lot more of it.
Exactly. So, mate, honestly, it's been brilliant. I appreciate it. Hang around. I'll come and talk to you in a minute. Let me just sign off and. But yeah, guys, Human Shield. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So guys, that was awesome. So yeah, we spoke about a lot there, and for me, a lot of that is the communication, and even from this being communicated to you guys, and it is communication as much as you can. I think it really does help. It's helped me personally. Obviously, it's helped Controller3r. He mentioned it. And it does help. It is hard. I'm never going to say it's easy. The first step is always the hardest. And, it will get easier and easier and easier. So just kind of just take every step as you can, a pinch of salt, slowly, but you will get there. But yeah, as always, guys, I want to say massive thanks to Controller again for being on, for everyone kind of watching and listening, whichever it is, if it's on YouTube, Spotify, or on Twitch when you're watching this. I appreciate you so much. And yeah, as always, look after your mental health, and we will see you next time.